And we are live. Welcome to the Live with Sondra show. I'm your host, Sondra Shannon, and this is where we share stories of business leaders and the people who support them. All right, let's roll the video. All right, thanks for watching that intro video. I have to just thank my team. That's brand new. It's first day we're premiering that. I hope we did a good job. I know it looks good because I'm very proud of them. I have the best team. And this show would not be possible without them. And I know this is not the normal way to start the show, but I was super excited about sharing that with all of you today. But let's jump into this conversation. We're going to be talking today about community-powered economies, a new era for attractions. And in a world where technology and storytelling collide, today's guest is showing the industry how to move beyond transactions and into transformation. We're going to have a focus on music, gaming, and tech. And first, I have to do my due diligence and give a special thank you to our sponsor. Today's episode is brought to you by Gatemaster, the all-in-one ticketing and attraction management software trusted by industry leaders. From point of sale to guest management and mobile ordering, Gatemaster helps attractions run smarter, not harder. So whether you're looking to streamline operations or elevate your guest experience, Gatemaster has something for you. So you can learn more about Gatemaster at gatemaster.com and tell them you were sent live with Sondra. Live with Sondra sent you. So let's talk about today's guest. Jaye is not only the founder and CEO of Coexist, she's also a Grammy-winning recording artist, an internationally recognized speaker on AI ethics and representation in games. With over a decade of experience, she's become a visionary in building inclusive, gamified economies that drive loyalty, engagement, and impact. Whether she's on stage, in the studio, or designing community-powered ecosystems, Jaye brings unmatched creativity, strategy, and authenticity. And a fun fact, she never goes anywhere without her water jug, which she credits to helping her be disciplined, optimized, and balanced. I love that. So get ready to rethink what's possible in your attraction, theme park, or venue, because Jaye is about to break it down on how gamification, tech, and community are shaping a new era of unforgettable experiences. Please help me welcome Jaye to this powerhouse to this show. Jaye, welcome to the show.
Hi, how are you? Hey, everybody.
I'm so glad you're here. And I'm curious, is there anything else? I know I love bios, but I also love hearing directly from you. What is that thing about you? I love the water. I love the water because that is like drinking
She's
coffee
right
right now. I think I'm on my fifth one. I should have the water next to me.
Yes, you said. So, what was the question?
Just tell us about you. Tell us. I love hearing stories of how people get their start. If you don't mind sharing a little bit of that, I know that's outside of what we're talking about, but I think it's important for people to have reference on who you are.
It's a journey. I have a lot of stuff across my socials that talk about this journey because it's a pretty inspiring one. But I mean, this short version is I moved to New York for music. I've been playing video games since I was 4. I studied electrical engineering in college, and I really just wanted my worlds to coexist. So, music, gaming, and tech were society kind of places in very different boxes. And the reality is I'm not a monolith. And honestly, no one person is one thing.
Sure.
So building worlds and infrastructure that highlight polymaths and multifaceted people allowed me to live in my most authentic place. And so really that's where I am, just from grassroots movement and community building to now, 3-story Times Square spaces and in a nationwide scale. The focus is really just growth and progress, but it's always incremental, especially when you're being intentional and authentic.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. And I resonate with that being multifaceted because I find myself to be actually it was actually one of my speaking coaches because this did not come naturally to me. This
Yeah.
was something that I had a vision for, but I knew I had to
Okay.
find the right people to help me. And it was so funny because one of my speaking coaches always calls me the Renaissance woman because she's like, "You got your hands in everything," and I love it. You know, I that's not necessarily by design, but it is to your point that we are so many things.
Yeah.
And I really am excited to talk to you about all of the things. So
Let's talk about all the
where
things.
should we get started with your journey?
Wherever you would like. I mean, I love that we're talking about community powered economies because one, I think it's really important for maybe people, businesses to understand the importance of what it means to have a community power economy in terms of their relevance, their significance, their collective demand and buying power, just the circulation of value. So we
Yeah.
can even start anywhere. I think there's some things about gamification. It's always exciting because people are always like, what is that? So we can kind of dive anywhere you want.
Well, you know what? Actually, I think what I'd love to hear from you is just kind of and just so our audience has clarity. We talk about community powered economies.
Hmm.
What is the gist of that we're referring to? And I'm a big believer that in business we create our own economies. So I really love this.
Yeah.
But would you mind just kind of breaking that down?
Yeah, I mean, from my perspective, I look at it as a circulation of value. In a community, there's resources, knowledge, and opportunities. They circulate faster. And this kind of circulation, it builds resilience, right? Because the community really supports itself, if you will, but it also accelerates wealth creation. And for us, that's a really big part of at Coexist, what our ecosystem is built off of. It's creating this feedback loop, right? Communities are built in focus at the inception of whatever it is. So, how this expresses itself, there are different organizations where when you see programming, the company will be programming everything. Well, for us, we never over program things because that's how we maintain the authenticity. We understand that we need to create spaces where the voices of the people to hear and see and learn information that they need to be visible here. So there's this talent kind of ecosystem. And then, like, as a result, businesses that tap into the feedback loop, they iterate faster, they test smarter, they reduce the
Yeah.
risk with bringing new ideas to market.
Yeah, 100% agree.
Yeah.
In technology myself for the last 25 years and working to build systems for attractions. Now, we're probably on the more boring side of the tech because we're not doing the gamification. And
Yeah.
I know that I want to get to that, but what we're building is payment systems.
Yeah.
And it's like a necessary evil, but but according to some business owners, in my opinion, like it's going to make a job easier, right? But
Yeah.
when you start looking at some of the payment tech that's out there, or the fintech that's out there, I mean, it's not
Mhm.
the most exciting part of business, right? However, one of the things I love about what you said is we really looked at what is it that our partners or our customers needed from this.
Mhm.
What are the challenges that they're bumping up against? We listen to them. I actually had somebody come to me and say, we're going to give you this much investment dollars, but you're going to have to do it this way. And turned it
Mm.
down because I recognize that, like, I need the parks to tell me what they need,
Yeah.
not an investor. Not that there isn't it, that isn't a strategic move to some degree. That's not what I'm saying here. It's just that's where we've remained as a company, is really focused on the community. So this is such an important conversation for me, especially
Mhm.
with where you're coming from. And I'm
Yeah.
really curious how you when we talk about ecosystems and gamification, kind of
Mm.
what are some of the core principles that can directly be applied to attractions to boost either guest or maybe even employee engagement? That's a big one.
Yeah, and you know what? It actually kind of goes back to when you're mentioning fintech. Believe it or not, I always think about gamification. Anytime there's ever tech involved, whether it's fintech, ed tech, all of it, ad tech, because really gamification just has to do with reward and incentive and progression and achievement. That's like kind of it. It's like a cheat code, right? And
Yeah,
so when we're thinking about, and when we, we're very B2B as well. So we partner with a lot of companies that they're just trying to increase the engagement or, justify a return. And so gamification really just unlocks the human psychology of what makes a person want to do something, i.e., what incentivizes them. And then once they actually do it, we reward their engagement. And so we just do that digitally, but we also do it in physical space. So the unique thing about like Coexist, right, is we always focus on the non binary. So it's not just one or the other, it's not just physical or digital space, it's physical and digital space, how they coexist and how we gamify it. So a lot of the businesses when people are existing in a real world. So the gamification for us is what is that crossover integration? How do we take what you've built, whether we're creating an API and we're like integrating something into it that's going to reward their engagement, to then when they are existing in their life, how we make it crossover so that they can feel that reward in real life as well. So it allows you to be wildly innovative and very creative. So we get to take things that might be boring like fintech that are necessary and
sure.
just give it a little extra, umph and make people feel really rewarded that they chose that particular, business or experience or product.
Yeah, I love that. And I think that it's, even just for me,
Yeah.
uh, I, I've been going on these walks every day.
Mm.
I have a new puppy, so
Aw.
and actually it's good for me. I need to be walking every day, but I have this new puppy that's keeping me busy, and
Mm.
you got to walk like 2 miles a day or he destroys everything. As puppies do. But
Yeah.
it was interesting. I started tracking my walks,
Mhm.
and sure enough, I get these little basic badges that,
Yeah.
I mean, maybe they're not huge to other people, but to me, I'm like, I got this badge today. I got
Yeah.
this badge today. So I totally recognize what you're saying in terms of
Right.
incentives. Now, granted, I didn't even know I was going to get the first badge. Once I got the first badge, then I was in,
Right.
right?
Exactly. Yeah, it's true.
Yeah,
And I love that you said that because I think it's important that we don't like even all of this stuff ties in together, right? So when you think about the community powered economy, what you should never do, no one, is diminish what makes you feel good. Like no
yeah,
one knows that you needed that badge today. Sometimes we just need to know that, you know what,
yes,
I went for it. I walked, I was tired, I did it, and then I got this celebration that I did it. That reward is what the whole what gamification is built off of. And that's why when it's done the right way, it really helps businesses. It catapults their innovation to next levels because they're tapping into something that quite honestly is hard to quantify how good you feel, right?
yeah. Oh, I do not disagree. I think that so many of us are not celebrating those small wins enough.
Yeah, for sure. I agree.
And
Yeah.
especially when we look at personal, professional, even financial goals, we
Yeah.
should be celebrating those things. That's something. It's interesting. I never thought of it. It's something that we do in our company. We meet with every single team member and
Hmm.
talk about their personal, professional, financial goals, and we celebrate those things together. But I never thought about it till just this moment how that is somewhat gamification, right? To a degree, we
It is.
celebrate each other,
No,
and
it definitely is.
it's been huge for our culture.
I
Business.
agree. I
So
agree.
I really love that feedback there. How does building a strong community around attractions lead to increase? How could it lead to both an increase in revenue and increase in loyalty?
Yeah, I mean, it's literally what you said. So I think some of the healthier communities and even the cultures and the ethoses in certain workplaces, if you're gamifying something, like you're automatically considering the need of someone, or otherwise, how do you even know what's going to drive engagement, right? You have to at least tap into that person on some level. So I think that directly corresponds to what makes a person do it more. Like right now, you can mention that you went on this short walk and you got this badge exponentially increased. Well, now you have an incentive to do more. So as we continue creating partnerships, you're really kind of taking some level of maybe scarcity. There's a time limit for you to do it now, and the exclusivity of what's going to be unlocked, right? So I think one of the more fascinating things about gamification is we're taking something so infrastructural, like just take a game, and it's like there's so many different type of games. There's video games, board games, card games, tabletop games, right? Casual, communal games. What makes one person gravitate to an experience over another? That psychology is paramount in understanding how you're going to structure the type of innovation a business focuses on. An example is, so in the gaming industry, it's 200 plus $1 billion industry, but mobile gaming is the largest revenue generated over 100 billion. Interestingly enough, for a lot of people, 65% of mobile gamers are women. And so
Wow.
it's exactly. And so it's like, one, from a representation standpoint, it should make businesses think, so if women are consistently on their phones and they're using these mobile devices, and what is it that's driving their interest wherever they are? If they're on the train, like if you're in a city like New York or in San Francisco, or you're waiting on something, this is how you're spending your time. It directly correlates to what your ad tech should really be considering, what you're promoting. And then, so there are a lot of analytics and a lot of data that help the businesses better serve the needs of their consumers. And even more importantly, like their targeted consumer, just by understanding what's driving this type of gamification. Is it the game in and of itself? Is it how the game is rewarding the consumer, like the person that's engaged in it? What about this retention is making them come back to this game when there's so many different type of mobile games? Mind you, they're being monetized. People are spending money on these games, you know? So I
Yeah.
think, yeah, that perspective is interesting and directly correlates with the community, the consumer needs.
Yeah. It's interesting. My mother is always playing a game, which is
Hmm.
around, hang out.
Yeah.
And I never considered her a gamer until just now. I mean, she's like almost 70, right? But it's to your point, when I think about all the women that I know that are playing games, plus, a lot of women are in these positions, maybe in their homes, where they're the person who's taking kids to sports and all these things and doing a lot. I mean, I know myself, I'm doing a lot of waiting around, and
Mhm.
that is something that might pass that time, right?
Right.
But also, you know what? I'll tell you, my daughter just told me today, she was like, yeah, so and so asked me to play a game. Like, that's also the way to win her heart, right? Like, you want to be her friend, you got to play games with her.
Right.
And so, but that's the community part,
Hmm. I agree.
the
I
connect.
agree. I
So,
agree.
from your perspective, and you mentioned a little bit about the outer reality, the game reality, and then what did you call it? The outside world, the
Oh,
what
the crossover integration.
crossover. Yeah. I'm curious because I actually did a show on a company that was doing an augmented reality.
Mm,
They basically do an augmented reality park in Santa Monica. But
mhm.
I'm curious, from your perspective, what role do you see augmented reality playing into future of events and attractions? Like, for me, I see a world, and maybe it's already there because I'm not that cool and going to music festivals is awesome often as I would like to. Where there's going to be huge crossover in these things.
For sure. So one, there's an entire Netflix docuseries called The Future of. The entire fourth episode is gaming, and it's highlighting us and all of the tech that we build using AR. So one, like when I think about AR, there's so many things. First of all, you're layering digital storytelling in physical spaces. So there are attractions that can embed interactive narratives into their existing environments. And so imagine like pointing your phone or your AR glasses at the landmark or the ride or the exhibit, and you see the characters, the animations, the hidden storylines that come to life. This turns a passive observation, like just looking at a mural or a statue, into an active exploration. And so one that, I mean, that directly that allows people to also personalize their guest journey. You can just create really immersive live experiences. And this is, there are a lot of, for businesses, like revenue and sponsorship opportunities that can come from that. But it's also something that is, again, even when we think about just the consumer, the accessibility and the inclusivity of that, AR enhances accessibility because
Yeah.
it provides this multilingual translation, or like a sign language overlay, I like to call it, that makes the attractive more inclusive, and it broadens the audience reach. So I think that alone, even that's not even involving the gamification part of how AR, how we can see it in our real lives.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting when I had that show, um, and he was telling a story about how this one dad came to him and said, you know, sure, I mean, we're still in AR, virtual reality.
Yeah.
However, it was the first time that he had actually played with his son.
Oh.
And he couldn't get him to do, because and in some ways, there's a lot of parents who don't want their kids on technology all the time, but this is where we are today, in my opinion. I mean, this is where we're going. And if you want to be with your children, sometimes you got to be with them where they're at. And so it's such an incredibly powerful story. And I think we are seeing some of what you're talking about, like with Disney, when before Epic, you could hold your phone over when they had I don't know if you'd ever been to uh, the downtown that they have at Universal Studios in Orlando.
Mhm.
Prior to Epic opening, you could hold your phone over and I never considered what you're saying, but you could hold your phone over and it would show you the rides moving and telling the
Cool.
stories of the different world. And it just completely changed the experience if you engaged with it. And it's really, really cool to see that this is where we're going.
Mhm.
How can and that kind of brings me to another question. How can technology driven approaches help attractions better manage their operations and staff? Because we're talking about these big parks that are doing incredible things from the guest perspective. But when we look at like maybe in park management and operation, do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think there has to be like a mutual value creation,
Yeah.
right? Like the best activations benefit everyone involved. So the attraction, like the location, whoever the company is, the partner, and then the guest. Um, and I think the gamification of something like this is just people want a personal experience. You know what I mean? And so people connect deeply. Again, that's that non-quantifiable part that we were talking about earlier. People connect deeply when the experience feels like it's for them. And so I think like you can have a streaming service that partners with like a theme park, and you let the guests choose between different kind of content journeys. They can choose the environment they want no matter where they're standing. They have this unique AR overlay that allows them to feel like they can interact with the partner's brand identity. And even if you're standing next to me, we have two different experiences. So I think interestingly enough, I'm telling you, like I think that psychology, and it's a really big part of gamification, and it's something that is probably too discounted, which is why you never want gamification to feel like it's just, I don't want to say, I'm not like saying negatively about a loyalty incentive program, but gamification takes it to another level because you're acknowledging that there's a desire for loyalty and that the incentive is necessary. And so, in understanding that dynamic, you have to tap into the desire for this very personalization through partnership, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
then I
That's
also
great.
want to add, I think there's a social amplification, especially since we're in this age where social platforms are everywhere. So the most memorable experiences are always shareable. So you take like a brand, like you can take a watch brand. Like we're working with a lot of watch brands now. They're sponsoring like a interactive installation where the guests can actually pause time, and they're in a slow motion, experience. Like we always kind of wanted this. You're giving this matrix energy, so that like the social amplification actually continues to further disseminate whatever that personalization was that was originally created in their content journey.
That's really cool. And you know what?
Mhm.
It's funny because have you ridden in one of those Waymos yet?
I have.
Yeah.
I like them.
Well, you made me think of we're tying in the music and the tech with this thought that I for some reason this has popped up in my head, but
Okay.
I love the Waymos
Yeah.
only because, and probably the biggest thing is because when I get in, it's
Yeah.
playing my jams, right?
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I
Really?
don't know if you've seen that part. Yeah, you can program the app so that as soon as you get in,
I haven't
it's
done.
already playing your music.
I like that. I
And
like that a lot.
yeah, I'll tell you it's uh, my favorite is artist. I don't know if I'm always afraid to share music with people because you're like everybody has
No,
such a different taste. But
that's okay.
Miguel, I love Miguel.
Wait, Miguel. Oh, like of course,
Yes,
yeah.
yes.
Of course.
He's
Yeah.
had a couple like Instagram, but I'm an old school fan.
No,
So
Miguel is amazing, amazing R&B artist. He's
yeah.
on the level with a really good friend of mine, so he's incredible. You should always share music with people. If they don't like it, that's fine, but you still put them on. So
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
good for you.
Because music is like, yeah, I really love music, but for some
Yeah.
reason, like his music calms me down. It makes me
Oh,
happy. I
that's
love hearing it. I get in my Waymo and it's playing, and it is just like, it's really, like you said, the loyalty. Because I could call an Uber, but if I know there's a Waymo, I'm
right.
like, this thing's going to have my
Yes.
name ready to go. It's talking to
True.
me. I get in, it asks me if I like to keep this music, and I'm like, heck yeah, I like to keep it. That's why I put it there.
It's
Right.
true. It's
So,
true.
you're opening my mind a little bit to how even that is somewhat gamification, right? Because it's the
Mhm.
personalization piece that you're mentioning that
Correct.
keeps people coming back.
It's true.
It sticks with you.
Yeah. And you can count on it,
Yeah.
right? You can count on it not to mess it up. You're not gonna be in a car with a chatty Cathy.
Yeah. Well, I don't mind that sometimes.
You
I
don't
think
want that. Because there's the Uber, there's a feature that says you want like a quiet, or you
quiet.
want it warm. So
Yeah.
it's kind of nice to know that you can, and that's the incentive, by the way. The reliability is the incentive. When you get in there and it happens, that's the reward.
Yeah. Now, as far as the Waymos go, I felt very safe in them.
Okay.
I don't know if you did.
I did. I
What
did.
what was weird is the other drivers around.
Oh, really?
Yeah, when you pay attention to them and how they're interacting
Oh,
with it, that's the part you gotta get used to, I think.
yeah. I thought one of the things I thought was particularly interesting was how cautious they are when parking,
Yeah,
right? So it's like and I think my friend, she was saying they don't put you in front of the door, and I'm like, well, there's a car parked there, so it's
right.
mindful enough to know that it can't.
Yeah. I mean, I saw one, I was in LA a couple weeks ago and I saw one get stuck in a hotel, like lobby area where they were dropping off, and it had taken kind of a wrong turn. But you know what? It was pretty fast that the team popped in,
Gotcha.
sent it
Oh,
back
really?
on its way. It was just
Interesting.
a
They
real
had-
minor inconvenience, but that was an interesting feature too, because it knew it was stuck, and it had a weird like roundabout thing that it had gotten itself into.
okay.
But it was inside of a hotel parking, or the in
Now
the hotel.
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Would you get on a Waymo plane or boat?
You know, I don't know. I was actually, it's funny that you asked that because I was in Cambridge and for a symposium, and they're bringing together all these uh, innovative thinkers because you mentioned like accessibility. So there's some, I'm on a team that is one of the co-founders is Chris Martin from Coldplay, and
Hmm.
we're working on, an ultra accessible project that is his one of his passions, and his partner Emmanuel. And we did a symposium, and it's interesting that you brought it up because one of the guys that was there was somebody who was working on a Uber plane,
Mm.
Uber for planes. And the next phase is something like that. I definitely don't want to be the first person on it,
Right.
right? It's kind of like I was
Right.
not the first person on a Waymo. They had been around for quite a while by the time
Yes.
I got in one.
Yeah.
Um, but I'm not opposed to it. Because, like you said, I feel like they're very cautious. I felt like it was very precise, which was interesting.
The Uber for planes is interesting because does that mean that they're basically just shifting pilots?
Well, it's
Which
basically,
they kind of do anyway.
you go on and your phone and you say, "Hey, I need a plane flight today," and a pilot.
No.
Yeah, it was wild. It's wild, but as you probably know, tech and gaming, I mean, where we're going in, I think, a short amount of time is pretty crazy.
Interesting. I'm gonna be thinking about that some more.
Yeah, he was telling me about this, and I'm like, yeah, actually, someday I hope to need an Uber for a private plane. I'm not there yet. I still fly commercial, but so
Definitely.
that's actually, we talked about goals.
Right.
That's going to be one of my that's one of my
The PJ. I
yeah,
love it.
one of the things I got to celebrate someday.
I
Like,
like it. I love it.
just because I fly a lot,
Yeah.
I'll tell you, I spent last year. I spent 3 months
Mm-hmm.
in a Marriott. So that doesn't count all the times I wasn't in a Marriott or an Airbnb. I'm just
Right.
going off of what Marriott said. And so
Yes.
you travel that much, and I'm sure you probably do. You
Oh
know,
yeah.
these comforts mean a lot, right?
Right. No,
And
they do.
speaking of Marriott, and you were talking about gamification,
I was just gonna say that. Exactly. Bonvoy does a really great job at gamifying within their closed ecosystem for
yeah,
sure. Yeah.
yeah. I hit my lifetime this year.
Yeah. Oh wow, look at
Yeah,
you. Okay.
yeah. That's anyways, we could talk about all these things forever, but you really have opened my eyes to how those things that Marriott's doing,
Right.
Waymo's doing, are not only personalizing the experience, but
Correct.
also bringing in the technology that allows them to gamify the experience or allow people to earn things and get recognition for earning those things.
It's true.
Believe me, I love saying I'm a lifetime. I think I'm a lifetime
Yeah.
titanium now. I mean, so nice to walk in there and know that you have that and you earned it,
It's
right?
true. And other hotel conglomerates like are actually following suit because they want the same kind of continuity
Yeah.
that because that's a memorable experience when you go there, right? And then they upgrade you to the suite, or they say, oh, you have a free spa, whatever. Like that's creating invaluable experience. Like you just leave the guests with something to continue and making them want to stay partnered with that ongoing. That is really invaluable. It's enough to make you pay more for a hotel because you know you're going to be rewarded for it.
Right. And sometimes
Yeah.
it's worth it because I'll tell you, when I was in London last month, I was staying uh I was staying in a Marriott in Canary Wharf
Mm-hmm.
every night. If you were a certain level and above, they had
Mm-hmm.
dinner and drinks. And it was just so nice and convenient because by that time,
Mm-hmm.
I've been out all day, I want to be back, relax, and it's just there and ready for you. So it's almost like the comfort of home because you're not,
Right.
dinner's ready, right?
Yep.
So
We love. We love.
well, so Jay, I think you're really honing in for the audience, especially those in attractions, that this personalization is super important.
Mm-hmm.
Having uh, gamified experience not only for their customers, their guests, but also for their team is
Right.
such an important part of creating community. And I really love that. I've not had anybody express that the way that you did on the show today. And so when just if I may just ask a couple of more questions, how can we use the principles of partnered activations? And we might have to explain to the audience what you mean by that, to create memorable experiences for guests.
Well, so, interestingly enough, I know everybody's talking about it, but there is an opportunity to integrate some AI tools in the personalization, using them to analyze the user behavior, which is really, really important. So, like the locations that they visited, the offers that they've redeemed, the time of day, the frequency, and then tailoring those offers and promotions that individualized users are more likely to engage with is a great way for one you to use an existing tool instead of building one, which is usually of value to companies, but also suggesting things that are relevant. We know this is really like some targeted marketing, but if a user often redeems a certain kind of food discount or like surface food oriented offers that they never see, these are personalization things that allow them to be focused. There's also smart triggers, right? So rather than like, so a lot of this is in some of the tech that we build rather than static geofences, which understand where you are on the map and then direct you kind of like hotspots. There are AI tools that can actually help you decide when and where to trigger your notifications or offers. But like it's like this predictive modeling moment, which is very, very common in gaming. Ways to just be super efficient. I think a lot of companies can sort of model some of what we're doing in gaming after their own experiences with personalization. In gaming, there's tech where you need to build a forest and you have four different type of trees. Well, you're going to use predictive modeling to replicate all of those trees, right? And then you're not using now AI as a replacement for the artist. You're actually using it to enhance the artist because the truth is the artist doesn't want to create. 4 or 5,000 of the same trees. So they're now leveraging
Right.
this tool, right? So I think these are things that are opportunities, and especially since I talk to so many companies about how to use AI in order to gamify their economy, it doesn't take away from the personalization, which I think is very important.
Yeah, I love that. And I totally see what you're saying. You know, the artist creates, but you know, like you said, who's going to want to do that 5,000 times?
Right.
Probably
Right.
even more.
Yeah, the artist wants to be creative. So if you give
Yeah.
them a leveraging tool that's more efficient, then now they can focus their attention on something else. But the companies can use that same type of personalization to understand the user behavior and
Right.
better know how to suggest things that are relevant to augment their experience.
Yeah, and you know, it's interesting. We've had people from marketing companies kind of talk about that personalization, but I think people don't understand how do I get that, and how do I get the how do I get the data that allows me to do it? And it's
Yeah,
interesting predictive modeling that you mentioned. You know, what a great tool to
I
use to
agree.
do that.
Hmm. And
So
that, yeah, go
yeah,
ahead.
no, please.
No, no, no. I'm just saying that's a lot of the tech that we build because that data is really important to controlled behavior and rewarding engagement.
Yeah, and I wonder, you know, based on your expertise, you know, what is one piece of advice you have for attractions looking to build this kind of innovative infrastructure? I mean, and so, you know, you talked about predictive modeling, you talked about getting the data. You know, what would be maybe some advice that you would give the audience today?
Partner with us at Coexist because we're
Yeah,
doing it
I
every
love
day. We're doing it every day. Like we literally we use so interestingly enough, AI is not new in gaming. It's the idea of it being so consumer facing. But reward economy design is something that we focus on in any type of virtual currency, which is in every single game. So we understand just this value of and need for people to not lose sight of their human experience, but there is a way to use AI to leverage it so that you can augment it and make it even more efficient. But then also the gamification for us and like what we specialize in is really creating the type of experiences that make people want to engage and the acquisition of data as they are engaging. And that is just so valuable to these businesses, but you have to partner. I implore companies actually to partner with companies and agencies like ours because our focus is authenticity. So we want to be able to, one, have our customers like trust us and confiscate information that matters, not just a bunch of randomized stuff, right? Because it's not as usable and it doesn't help you curate a more optimized experience for them the next time.
right. And I'm sure like the data that you're helping these businesses get also helps them make much better decisions about where they're going and
Exactly.
what they need to do. So
Correct.
I think that, you know, one, I want to thank you for having and starting a company that helps companies bring this into their purview and
Right.
also make it a reality for them because being in technology, I can tell you data is a very tough subject for people because they don't know how to get it or what to do with it
It's true.
and whether or not they've got the right data.
Correct. Correct.
One of my mentors who I met with just probably about a month ago, he was on a stage and he was saying, you know, do you think that people make the wrong decisions because they are bad people or they want to do something wrong? No. And he was primarily talking about businesses. They're making the wrong decisions because they don't have the right data.
Yeah.
Right? And
It's
so
true.
I think this is so huge. And I really appreciate you bringing data into it because it's such a big topic of conversation, especially in the attractions right now. How do we
Right.
leverage this data to make the guest experience better?
Correct. And then the part that I think is really distinctive of what we focus on is after we've done that, how do we make the consumers feel rewarded for providing the information we needed to cultivate a better experience for them? So it works cyclically.
Yeah, I love that. It's interesting. The transfer. It's a. You said
Right.
in your. You said it was a rather than being transactional, it's transformational data.
Absolutely. Yep.
Love that.
Absolutely. Yep.
Well, hey, we're wrapping up here because of time, and I really appreciate you giving me
Of
time.
course.
Much into the music part, and I just wanted to maybe just hear from you a little bit about
Yeah.
journey with music, and it's just hearing that you are it's a Grammy award winning artist is yes.
Right there. Yeah. No,
Hey,
I
you're the
always,
first person I've ever met with one of those, so
oh
I'm super
wow.
excited.
I have a few friends with those. It's you know what? I just actually met someone and I held my first Oscar for the first time. So that was cool. I was like,
Wow.
this thing is heavy. Um, you know what? I feel like once you're an artist, you're always an artist. Because it's who you are and it's how you navigate the world. It's how you express yourself. And I think anything that stifles the creativity makes you feel like less of an artist.
Yeah.
So for me, I just wanted to really be a part of a world that allowed innovation to go wild, but at the same time create impact. And I think we live societally in a place where oftentimes they're so binary. You're either doing this, it's like, oh, you're working for a nonprofit, you're going to create impact. Oh, you're an artist, so you're not technical. And I just really wanted to disrupt all of those preconceived notions because we have a left and a right hemisphere. They're not severed. Shout out to Severance, we love it, but we didn't choose the procedure, right? So it's really for me my artistic perspective. Mind you, I studied electrical engineering in undergrad, so I've always needed them to coexist. But I think approaching even tech as an artist allows myself and a lot of my team members, because we do talk about we're non-neurotypical, we are neurodivergent people. We talk a lot about neurodivergence in gaming, and so these industries, they deserve conversations from non-neurotypical minds because the perspectives are analyzing and processing information differently. We're viewing it from a different perspective, never compromising the human experience. And I think as an artist, there's always this vulnerability that you're living through because I'm creating music for me, but I'm lending it to you. I'm basically telling you all my business and every song that I'm writing in hopes that at some point in your life
Wow.
it resonates and can do something that empowers you or makes you feel included, like you're not alone. And I think having that just very human approach makes you empathetic, even in business, even in tech fields. And I think it's just a very valuable quality to possess. And I like how I see it resonate in different aspects of my life, even professionally as a non artist.
Yeah, I love that, and I love that you're so many things. That
Me
really
too.
resonates with me. And
Me
look,
too.
hey, if you'll let me hold yours, I'll let you hold mine.
Oh, yes. Wait, let me see what you got, girl.
I did get this is a brass ring for
Ooh.
best new concept, which actually was for gamification,
Oh, I like
um,
it. I see you.
employee onboarding.
I love that.
Which that one, it's gonna. I haven't told very many people this, but this thing went with me everywhere. I don't know about you when you got yours. This is
No,
like a Grammy for attractions, right?
oh,
But
I love that. Well deserved because you were that girl. You were
oh,
that.
well,
Yes.
same. I just appreciate you sharing your brilliance with us today and really good information. I hope that the people listening really take to heart what you're saying about how to build community gamification. I think this is where we're going. I think this is so innovative what you're doing. And I do hope they connect with you. In fact, I want to connect with you
We're connected.
about how we can do that for Gatemaster because
Yes.
you've certainly convinced me. So
Uh,
thank you for being on the show. And if somebody does want to connect with you, what would be the best way to get a hold of you?
yeah, so I'm Letta J Music on everything, LETTA J Music on like every platform. But you can also find me on LinkedIn. I'm Jaye, Letta J Watts. And so hit me up. Let's have some amazing conversations and discuss how we can coexist.
Jay, thank you for being here today. I look forward to seeing you again
Likewise.
soon. All right, guys. Well, that was a great conversation. I love the idea of using gamification to create community, to create loyalty with our guests, to personalize the experiences. We're seeing that in some of the bigger and like big brand attractions, but I do believe that somebody like Jay can help many of you who don't see yourself as a Disney or Universal, but are still creating these amazing experiences, leveraging organizations like Jay's that can help you do this, but create your own ecosystem and create this type of engagement with your guests and maybe even your team, whatever, wherever you need this type of loyalty and engagement. So I just really want to thank you for watching today. Thank you for being a part of our conversations. Love the chat. And lastly, before we go, I do have to again thank our sponsors, Gatemaster, the all-in-one ticketing and attractions management software trusted by attraction leaders for nearly 35 years. It's crazy to say that. That's been a very long time. But as Jay was saying, this thing was built by a community of people like you who are running attractions and trying to move your businesses forward. So, I do hope that you will give Gatemaster a shout out or at least a connection. You can reach them at gatemaster.com. And again, thank you for listening to today's show. If you're watching live, leave us a comment, hashtag repeat if you are watching us on repeat. And if you are listening on the podcast networks, thank you for listening today. We appreciate your support, and I appreciate the team behind the show. It takes a lot of people to make something like this happen, and I do want to thank them. I thank them each and every day, but especially here, I want to give them a big shout out for all that they do. We'll see you guys on the next Live with Sondra show.